It's about 2 weeks away at this point, and 3 different brands are competing as to who's going to put on the best show of the weekend. Let's talk about it. What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, your pal, Smash Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, and this is Road to Destiny Icons / TakeOver Toronto / SummerSlam 2019. Because I'm going, and I just feel like bragging, and I just feel like being excited, sharing some of that excitement with you guys, and yeah, let's just get right into it. For those of you that are not as familiar with Destiny, Destiny's the local promotion that runs near me here in Mississauga, Ontario. Really, really cool. If you don't, if you haven't already, just go check out everything else on my channel that has to do with Destiny. It's the company that I started watching because Pete Dunne was their champion, etc., etc., etc. Now, last week we went over a big lot of stuff for this show because I know more about this show than I know about any of the other shows going on this weekend so far. We went over the fact that the main event is OVE versus SCU, which is going to be great. It's being billed as Impact versus AEW, and really it's Destiny guys that I know from Destiny taking on 2 guys that I know from Impact and 1 guy that I know from AEW. So it's a little bit of a dynamic shift there. Still, as of yet, our champion Josh Alexander, who is also a tag team champion on Impact right now, as far as I know, his open challenge has not been answered as of yet. My boy Channing Decker is in what I believe is a cage match against Ricky Shane Page, who I know nothing about. Tenille Dashwood, aka WWE's former Emma, is not taking on Shotzi Blackheart because I'm just not that lucky, but she is taking on Shalizia Sparks. That's going to be really cool. Next generation champion Trey Miguel is taking on Lionel Knight, Kevin Blackwood, Ryan Wright, and my boy Aiden Prince, who I really hope wins. I'm a little biased on that one. But I told you guys last week that we have Joey Ryan on there, and I'm mixed on Joey Ryan. I really don't want to see Dick Druids marching through Mississauga. We didn't know who he was facing, and I said he should take on our comedy guy, Stone Rockwell, who's basically a send-up of a Indiana Jones type character, and he's really funny. His comedic timing's great. He's done a lot because of Santino Marella's involvement with Destiny, or should I say Anthony Morelli's involvement with Destiny. We've seen them do a lot of comedy stuff sort of together. The Indiana Jones persona versus Anthony Morelli, who just gets out the Cobra and does what he did on the Raw review, or the Raw reunion show this week that we don't really need to talk about, talking about the snake being limp and the snake touching the women, which is something, isn't it? But he's not. He's taking on RJ City. RJ City is somebody that I saw, I think, at my very first Destiny show. Really, really arrogant, really, really good at getting booed. At the same time, it's all with a wink and a nod because the crowd loves him. Now, after the first time I saw him, first Destiny show I was at, he left. I don't know where he went after that, but he came back recently at the Retro show, which is really cool. And for a weird bit of context, you can go back on this channel and catch I'm sorry guys, you can catch video of RJ City singing the theme from the Golden Girls to Hacksaw Jim Duggan. So make of that what you will. He's going to take on Joey Ryan. I'm sure something cool will come of that, and I'm sure because it's going to be somewhat of a comedy match, I still think we'll see Stone Rockwell in there at some point. But the big announcement that came out this week from George Iceman, who's on their social and all that sort of thing, was they've arranged, I guess with WWE, to have the return for one night of Mustache Mountain, Tyler Bate, and Trent Seven. And if we go further into what we're going to talk about in a second, that means I'm going to see all 3 members of British Strong Style at some point over the course of the weekend. It hasn't been announced who they are facing yet, which is interesting. But I don't care. It's British Strong Style. As I said on my NXT review, I've gotten the chance to meet them very briefly the last time they performed at Destiny, and it was a really cool experience. They were really cool dudes. I was there super early. They were setting up their merch thing. I got a t-shirt. I think I got the Skull and Crossbones Mustache Mountain shirt, and I got the chance to shoot the shit with them for a couple minutes, and that was really cool. And that's not, hey, look at me, I got to talk to British Strong Style. That's just me genuinely saying, like I would say about Channing Decker, like I would say about Shotzi Blackheart, like I would say about a couple of the other guys I've met. Aiden Prince is another one. Ryan Wright is another one. Just genuinely cool. Even Silesia Sparks, who cut a promo on me on the merch stand for wearing a Shotzi Blackheart shirt. It's all good and it's all fun, and this is going to be a really good show. I'm kind of bummed because of their whatever this new TV deal they're doing is, and I still don't have all the details. When I have the details, I will pass them on to you. But it was moved from the Annapolis Hall back to the Don Koloff Arena, which is, as I explained last week, it's kind of their home base. It's nice. It's got that home base feel, but I was really happy for them last year for the first Icons show where they did get to move to a slightly larger venue. Hoping we see more of that in the future. Sorry, losing my voice because my sinuses are fucked. You guys know me. You guys know that that's the truth more often than not. So right now, to run down the Destiny Icons show, Joey Ryan versus RJ City, Mustache Mountain versus Shrug. You got the 5-way match for the Next Gen Championship. You got Tennille Dashwood versus Silesia Sparks, Channing Decker versus Ricky Shane Page, OVE versus SCU, and Josh Alexander versus whoever's got the balls to step up to him. Now, as I said last week, and I'm going to keep saying it until it's true, really, the challenger to Josh Alexander, I'm really curious in one regard, because with it being a big show, I'm sure they'll get a big name. On the other hand, I kind of don't want it to matter because I really want Channing Decker to cash in that briefcase, which means, obviously, he's going to douse the hell out of whoever the hell Ricky Shane Page is, and it's going to be good. And there's no way this show is going to be bad. There will be highlights coming out on this channel from this show. There will be slideshows. There will be a couple of videos. There will be me, obviously, coming up and doing a little bit of post-show commentary, just giving my 2 cents, etc. Now, the catch-22 of that is when this does make it to TV, it means whatever I put out is going to be a massive spoiler. So it is kind of going to be a watch-at-your-own-risk bit of coverage. But, I mean, NXT is the most popular thing in WWE, and it's spoilerific, and people love it. So, I don't know. I'm really excited for them to have this TV thing. As I've said before, whatever it ends up being, the monthly show, I think they said it's either going to be 1 or 2 hours once a month. Which is going to be, I think it's like the fight, I can't find the proper name for it right now, but I think it's like the Saturday Night Fights or something along those lines. It's really good. As I said, more information will come from me when I have it, but anything I do about a show I'm at is going to be a massive spoiler, isn't it? So I do apologize, but I'm not going to not talk about an awesome show that I was just at. I'm going to probably do the same thing for TakeOver and SummerSlam, probably not for Raw and SmackDown. Speaking of TakeOver, last week we talked about Shayna Baszler taking on Mia Yim. That's a thing. Mia Yim's doing this great thing now where she's taking out the Horsewomen. What she did this week with Marina Shafir, like closing her face and shoulder in the locker and just kicking the fuck out of it. I thought that was absolutely beast. What they did the first week with where they're taking out Jessamine, it's the other way around, isn't it? She took out Marina Shafir in the parking lot, Jessamine Duke in the PC. I know what I'm talking about, I swear. I'm not recording this super late on a Thursday. Really, I promise. But it brings it down to being one-on-one, and it makes the whole Bianca Belair pouting and beating up other people because she's left out of the title picture all the more annoying, because she's had it. She really has. And the secondary women's story on NXT now is Io Shirai versus Candice LeRae, so Bianca Belair can fuck the fuck off. That's what I gotta say about that one. Nothing else, really. I really want Mia Yim to win. I've referenced her multiple times here now as the current modern urban Lita, because that's the vibe I get from her. I think she's great. Cole Gargano, we already knew it was going to be a 2 out of 3 falls match. William Regal came along later to say that, you know, one can pick one stipulation, one can pick the other stipulation. William Regal himself is going to pick the third stipulation because we know it's going to go to a third fall. That's what 2 out of 3 falls do. Cole picked a wrestling match because he wants to out-wrestle Johnny Wrestling. Gargano picked a street fight because he's gotten used to street fights because of his feud with Tommaso Ciampa. There's a nice little bit of lineage there. We do not know as of yet, and I haven't read spoilers yet, what William Regal's going to pick the third fall to be. I imagine it's going to be a cage match. I don't see them bringing something as specific as the Hell in the Cell to a takeover, and I'm not going to lie, I don't know what a Hell in the Cell would look like in Scotiabank Arena. I think it would look... Scotiabank Arena is not a small arena by any stretch of the imagination, but I do imagine that Hell in the Cell would look quite large and maybe a little bit out of place. I was there for TakeOver Toronto 1, where they did the match with the guy in the shark cage, etc., hanging over the thing there. Being really super specific there because I'm tired. But even that little mechanism that's not that big looked big and looked a little too big for its purpose. So I really don't want it to be Hell in the Cell. I want it to be something. I want, like, simple cage match. NXT has proved that they can do the simple cage match gimmick really well. And not gonna lie, I should want Gargano to win because he's the babyface, he's the struggler. But what's his name? I can't think now. Adam Cole is a bigger superstar. Adam Cole is the one guy that I sort of think is call up to the main roster proof. And it's kind of why I want to see him come up by himself, because the rest of Undisputed Era is not. I think Roderick Strong on the main roster will get eaten alive. Fish and O'Reilly might be okay as a tag team, but as individuals, I think they'd be eaten alive. Adam Cole, you know, it's one of those things that people just say, but Adam Cole could probably save the main roster. Everybody thinks it's really cool right now to shit on Seth Rollins. Myself not included. I think Seth Rollins is great. I think him going on Twitter and telling everybody exactly what he thinks is great. I think him sticking up for his brand, sticking up for his locker room, and sticking up for himself as well. Be like, you know what? If you think you are that great, there's nothing wrong with that. If you're in a field like this, and I don't know why I'm diverting off onto this now because I've already done it a couple of times. If you're in a field like this, a creative field where you put yourself out there on the line and your acting chops, your personality, and your body are your product, and you don't have faith in your own product, you don't put yourself up on that pedestal and the people around you up on that pedestal, then you're doing a disservice. But because what he's sticking up for is WWE, and it's not cool to like WWE right now, it's cool to like everything else, he's getting the wrong end of the stick, and I really do not think that's cool. We got it confirmed that the Street Profits are in fact going to defend their titles against Fish and O'Reilly, which is good. Feeds into the whole Undisputed Era is going to walk out with all the gold. And speaking of all the gold, I don't have much to say about the tag match. It's going to be good, but it's NXT, so it's one of those, here's a match, it's going to be good, and somebody's going to win. What I do want to talk about is what I swear up and down. I like the progression of Mia Yim. I like the fact that she's probably going to beat Shayna Baszler. I cannot wait for the Cole Gargano 2 out of 3 falls match. I think that's going to be great. The match that is going to steal the night, ladies and gentlemen, is Velveteen Dream defending his NXT North American Championship, not only against Roderick Strong of the Undisputed Era, continuing that story along, but the returning Pete Dunne. Pete Dunne, who on NXT UK is just referred to as off doing his own thing. Well, off doing his own thing is basically walking back into NXT to a hero's reception, breaking the fingers of his former tag team partner that fucked him over well a while ago, and probably getting the one singles title in NXT. That's not true at all. He's never been the NXT champion. Can't say that. But walking back in, breaking Roderick Strong's fingers immediately, and making his claim at the Velveteen Dreams Championship. As much as the Roderick Strong thing does fit in, because there is actually a story there, as much as there's a story between Roderick Strong and Pete Dunne, I really do wish this was one-on-one between Velveteen Dream and Pete Dunne. Roderick Strong's in there because they're trying to do the whole, you know, the Undisputed Era is going to be draped in gold. I get it. There's every reason for him to be in this match, and I'm not against it per se, but I would love to see Velveteen Dream versus Pete Dunne one-on-one. We're going to see Roderick Strong versus Pete Dunne next week. Why can't we have the week after? We got 2 shows until this, right? I don't know why we couldn't just do that, but Pete Dunne being back on the main roster, and it's so great. Because he's such a, even when he's a good guy, he kind of comes off like a dick. And I know, once again, back to the Seth Rollins conversation, this is what a lot of people are saying about Seth Rollins right now. But it's actually true with Pete Dunne. He's got this, you know, everybody wants to be the next Steve Austin. They're grooming Kevin Owens to be the next Steve Austin. They're grooming Becky Lynch, and she's sort of grooming herself to be the female Steve Austin. Pete Dunne is Steve Austin. He walks out there with the biggest shit-eating grin of anybody in that company, and he's cheered for it, and people love him for it. And he could come out there tomorrow, and, you know, big bad superhero Johnny Gargano, Johnny Wrestling, could win the title at the end of the night. Pete Dunne would walk out, break his fingers as we go off the air, and that would get cheered. There is your next Steve Austin. Your next Steve Austin is Pete Dunne. It's weird, because he's kind of a weird dude. He's got the whole finger-breaking thing, and I know he's not from America, so they won't push him like they would an American, but it is what it is. And going back to the Destiny conversation, I am really, really biased because I got to see them, or I got to see him rather, carry their title for quite a while, and it's just fucking good. It's just fucking good. And then SummerSlam. Lesnar versus Rollins is what it is. Natty versus Becky Lynch is not anything I'm really that excited about. Ember Moon versus Bayley is interesting enough. Long overdue for Ember Moon, and Bayley's finally starting to not be a idiot / 5-year-old, which is great. Now, Charlotte Flair on this week's SmackDown came out and she said, I want an opponent even better than Ember Moon, even better than Bayley. I think she said even better than Becky. I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and watch the promo. Now, there's two different rumors that have come out of this. One will make me very, very happy, and one will send me to the toilet. I will literally get up out of my seat in Scotiabank Arena and go and take a piss for as long as this match lasts if her surprise opponent is Sasha Banks. Fuck the fuck off. I've said it multiple times. I don't hate on Sasha Banks. I'm sure outside of the context of wrestling, I'm sure she's a decent person, even though there's millions and millions of planes mistakenly landing on her forehead. But here's the deal, and here is what I can say without any bias, without any venom towards her. If you give her a hero's reception, if you make her return a big deal, if you give her an immediate title shot, if you give her an immediate Big 4 pay-per-view spotlight like this, any of those things, big return, celebrate her return, pretend like nothing's happened, you are punching in the throat every single member of that women's roster that has been on the what they call the grind, has been doing the towns, whatever expression you want to say, putting their bodies on the line since WrestleMania, since she decided to have a temper tantrum in the locker room and take her ball and go home. Not what Ambrose did, but definitely what she did. Everybody else has stayed and come to work, and that should be rewarded. I mean, take a look at your job. If somebody just no-shows your job for a couple of months and walks back in to a raise, to a position, maybe becomes your supervisor or boss, would that not piss you off? Would you not be like, I'm never doing anything for you guys ever again? People like Nikki Cross, who's just barely now getting some shine. Asuka and Kairi Sane, who have been pushed so far to the backside. I'm sorry, Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose, for as much as people hate it when I say that. Ember Moon, who's just now getting her shot right now. If Sasha Banks has been welcomed back like so many people want her to, and like I'm terrified WWE's going to do, all those people that you think are just sort of sniffing at actually getting her. Ruby Rose, when she comes back from injury, because she's busting her ass right now to come back from legitimate injury that's keeping her away from the ring, should get that welcome, should get that immediate shot, should get that, whatever it is. We know that she had a great match 2 years ago with Charlotte. Let's play up to that story. You know what? I had that banger of a match with you a couple of years ago. I didn't quite get the job done. I've been out. I need to prove myself. You need to prove you're not afraid of me, something like that. And then they go off and have a banger. It doesn't have to be for a belt. Just, it's Charlotte. Facing and beating Charlotte is enough. But if you give it to Sasha Banks at this point, after all the shit that has happened since WrestleMania, because she went and decided to have a fucking pity party because she was asked to drop a fictional belt, you're punching everybody else in the throat. And at that point, I wouldn't blame any of them. I wouldn't blame Sonya Deville, Nikki Cross, even Bayley, even somebody like Becky, Mandy Rose, Nikki Cross, etc. I wouldn't blame any of them for walking out if that's what WWE does. If WWE bows to the Sasha stans and the SJWs and the Twitter marks that far, I wouldn't blame the entire rest of the roster for walking it out. I really, really wouldn't. But the other rumor is that it could be Trish Stratus. And that makes me happy, because I don't want to put Trish Stratus, part-timer, put in a title picture, because then you get the Brock Lesnar situation, and we don't want that. But just as an extra sort of attraction match on the card, Trish Stratus versus Charlotte Flair, that could be a lot of fun. It could be really good, and it's a match that I wouldn't mind seeing. I mean, I would love to see her. If she's there, I'd like to see Lita as well, just because that's the way my fandom leans. But that's an awesome choice. That's an awesome decision. But, and here's the only downside to the Trish Stratus thing. If you do the Trish Stratus thing with Charlotte, the decision to have Natalya face Becky Lynch becomes even stupider. The only shred of, how can I say this? The only shred of reasoning, the only shred of acceptance that I have for the Becky versus Natty match is that WWE is trying to get a Canadian pop, and I understand. And I explained last week in this series why I think that's dumb. Anyway, we're not dumb up here. You know, we're not all just, you know, riding our moose beavers and drinking our maple syrup and, oh, it's a Canadian, eh? That's not a thing. That's a thing if they're good. That's a thing if they're a great character, an engaging character. That's a thing if they're a star. That's a thing if we're engaged in them. And unfortunately, I hate to say this because I don't dislike Natty, but none of those things are in place for Natty. The one thread that I was giving WWE as far as logic, as far as giving Natalya that shot, you know, the home country pop, was that the fact that, you know, they're trying to get a Canadian pop. But let me tell you something, WWE, and I hope you're looking right at me, and I hope Vince McMahon, he's not going to see this video, but I hope Vince McMahon sees this video. Here's the deal. If that's the reason you gave Natty that shot, then don't give it to Trish Stratus. Because Natalya, yeah, she happens to be from the same country. Other side of the same country, Trish Stratus is from Toronto. You put Trish Stratus anywhere on this card, nobody gives a fuck about Natalya anymore, and you've wasted a Becky Lynch slot on a Big 4 pay-per-view. That's just my personal opinion, and I'd rather see the Trish Stratus thing than Natty. I'd love to see Natty get taken out. I'd love to see Natty get taken out, like, even on the pre-show, and have it end up being Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey 2. I guess 1.5, because it was a triple threat. Anyways, that needs to happen. That needs to be remedied. It really needs to not be Sasha Banks. That's all I'm saying. We're getting Finn Balor versus The Fiend. The only thing I can really say about this at this point is don't do the Demon. If you don't do the Demon, then we're all good. Because Finn Balor, it's been well publicized at this point. He wants some time off from the WWE. He's gonna, you know, he's gonna go up to SummerSlam and then he's gonna take some time off. Now, if you want to, that's a guaranteed win for The Fiend. And he should win because it's his first match back. Fiend should win. So, you have Fiend go over regular Finn Balor. Regular Finn Balor can lose, that's not a problem. He does it a lot, he's very good at it. You have him go away for a while. And he comes back either as the Demon or joins the club, both rumors that are circulating roundabout now. You do it around SummerSlam, even you do it up to the build to the Royal Rumble, etc. Problem is, if you put the Demon versus the Fiend, neither one of those characters can afford to lose. The last time we saw the Demon was in Saudi Arabia, and it was so hot in Saudi Arabia that it literally melted off Finn Balor's face. The next time we see the Demon needs to re-up, or sort of re-energize what we as fans think of the Demon as an entity, as a character, whatever you want to say. So as long as Finn Balor is just regular, what I call rockstar douchebag Finn Balor, he goes in, gives the Fiend a good fight. The Fiend goes in there, shows what he can do. I really hope that him taking on Mick Foley's Mandible Claw is a thing that's going to last, and it wasn't just a thing that he did to Mick Foley, because Mick Foley can't take a Sister Abigail. That's all good, if it's done properly. Kofi Kingston versus Randy Orton annoys the hell out of me. And I'll tell you why. I will tell you why. I don't like Kofi Kingston as champion. I've said that since WrestleMania. It's a pop for all the wrong reasons. It fed into a lot of identity politics and social politics, and all the people out there, I'm just going to say it, that keep claiming that WWE's never had a black champion. They have. It's there. It's a thing. There's this cloud sort of hanging over it now that anybody that beats him is going to immediately be hated, booed, etc. because, well, you know, you took it off him and rah. You know how people are. There's also this idea out there in the fandom that you can't point out how absolutely lackluster his title reign has been, or else you're racist. But you guys know how I feel about things like that. Bringing back Randy Orton, it just... I have nothing against Randy Orton. I would love to see Randy Orton be a champion again. I know that probably makes me a bad person. Bringing back Randy Orton just feeds this narrative that Kofi Kingston's been held down for so long. No, he hasn't been held down. For the past 5 or 6 years or so, he's been happy to go out there, dress up like Barney, play the trumpet, play the trombone, do a bunch of comedy sketches, put pancakes in his pants, and make a very decent fucking paycheck. Let's be real for a second. We go back to the story about the stupid, which, I mean, if Randy Orton was working with him at the time and thought he was stupid, Randy Orton's been wrestling longer than Kofi Kingston. That's all I can say. And, oh, it must have been politics. It must have been this. It must have been that. No, Randy Orton's a star. You might not like him. I might not like John Cena. But John Cena's a star. The rest of the world doesn't like Hulk Hogan. And you know what? He's a star. Hulk Hogan, he's Satan, he's bad, he's worse than Hitler, but he's a bigger star than Kofi Kingston. Oh, yes. And Randy Orton is a star. And they're going to sacrifice one more star to this bullshit Kofi Kingston agenda. And I want the agenda to stop. And this is a rant now, I'm sorry. I want the agenda to stop so I can go back to liking Kofi Kingston. And it's not what you think it is. If Big E came along, took the title off him, wouldn't necessarily have a problem with that. If a rising star, like a Cedric Alexander or somebody came along, took it off him, no problem. Bring back The Rock for a night. Let The Rock rock bottom him. If for some strange reason it can't be a white guy, which is bad, and I don't want to think that that's the world that we're living in. But you know, literally, Booker T, just saying. The Booker T thing is actually a really weird comparison, and I'm gonna divert a little bit. This whole idea that if you don't like Kofi Kingston as champion, you're racist and this and that, and he's been held down when he hasn't, and 11 years. Well, you by your own admission were faking a Jamaican accent for most of those times. You tried to mooch popularity off of how many tag team partners, and then you went into the New Day, which is a great comedy shtick, but that's what it is, it's a comedy shtick. Makes me think of the one WrestleMania where everybody was outraged that Triple H beat Booker T for the championship at WrestleMania, and there's a promo that went into that, and it basically was like, people like you shouldn't be champion. And if you were around at that time, that I was, you know, you saw, you know, the death of WCW, the failure of the invasion, all that sort of thing, and we were left with Booker T, King Booker, all those other iterations of Booker T, and I like Booker T too. I was kind of hoping Booker T would become champion. I liked him as champion. Maybe not so much with the Queen Charmel, that was a little bit lame, but whatever. But the whole people like you shouldn't be champion, and if you were watching at the time, you know, you'd say, jobbers, mid-carders, people below me, you know, and at the time, most importantly, it was like people from WCW. Those were all the things encompassed in the people like you promo, as well as they played Booker T's criminal past into the storyline. So if you're a criminal, if you're a loser from WCW, if you're what I view to be a mid-carder, you shouldn't be champion. Everybody and their mother, especially now with the resurgence of Kofi Kingston, has used this as the example. And it said, well, it wasn't any of that. He was making fun of him because he was black, except literally none of the context was that at all. Whereas the context here, Kofi Kingston shouldn't be champion. He's an amazing wrestler. He's a great athletic guy. He's got his chest caved in, and he has a good sense of humor about it. He's got a good deal going with the other two guys in the New Day. I think Xavier Woods is incredibly underexposed because he's usually on the outside with the trombone. It's all good. He has a spot in WWE for life. That spot is not champion, and fuck you, that doesn't make me racist. Put the belt on Randy Orton. Let somebody else get Randy Orton beat. Let Randy Orton get taken out by The Miz. You can have Miz, Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania like we all wanted last year, especially if your name's Adam Wilborn. Moving the fuck on. We're getting some sort of I Quit match between Kevin Owens and Shane McMahon. I would groan at this. I would be so very worried that Kevin Owens was going to be buried under the Shane story and just swarmed by like Shane's new version of the Authority. But the rumor is that he's going to run an injury angle after SummerSlam, and we're not going to see Shane for a while. And Kevin Owens is going to be the catalyst for that. And if Kevin Owens is the catalyst for that, maybe Kevin Owens then goes on, you know, Survivor Series, Royal Rumble, maybe even WrestleMania. He takes the belt off of Randy Orton after Randy Orton saves it from Kofi Kingston. Wouldn't that be good? Wouldn't that be great? And then after WrestleMania next year, you could have Kevin Owens versus Cedric Alexander if they've built him up into a main eventer. There you go. Nice, neat little storyline. But for now, rounding this up, and I know I went to really negative ends on the Kofi thing, and I went to really negative ends on the Natty thing, and I really don't want to be negative. I just see spots that could be so much better. for the weekend, right now, let's just run down what I am going to see personally over the course of that weekend. And most of you are going to see as well, especially if you're in the Toronto area and you're coming to Destiny. Destiny still does have tickets. I think they've got about 50 tickets left last time I looked. But we're getting Joey Ryan versus RJ City, Mustache Mountain versus somebody, the 5-way for the Next Generation Championship. We've got Tennille Dashwood versus Silesia Sparks, Channing Decker versus Ricky Shane Page, Josh Alexander defending the Destiny title against somebody, OVE versus SCU, Street Profits versus Fish and O'Reilly, Velveteen Dream versus Roderick Strong versus Pete Dunne for the North American Championship, which I am pinning as the match of the weekend right now, and I'm challenging all the other wrestlers to prove me wrong. Shayna Baszler versus Mia Yim, Cole Gargano 2 out of 3 falls, Kevin Owens versus Shane McMahon, Kofi Kingston versus Randy Orton, The Fiend versus Finn Balor, Charlotte Flair versus hopefully Trish Stratus and not Trashy Skanks, Ember Moon versus Bayley, Natalia versus Becky Lynch, for better or for worse, and Lesnar versus Rollins. It's going to be a hell of a weekend, guys, and that's not even including the fact that I'm going to see the taping for NXT, I'm going to see 205 Live, I'm going to see Raw, I'm going to see SmackDown. I'm going to be exhausted. I guarantee you by the time we get to that Wednesday after that weekend, I'm going to have no voice. You guys will be able to laugh at me, and won't that be fun? Anyways, until I get to this series again next week, or until Kristen and I get off our butts and do that video for all the MCU stuff, I've been Spaz, your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation, keep all of these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I'll talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I am tagging out. Bye, guys.